Alright guys, we're gonna show you something. Oh my god. How'd you get up here? How you table crawler you? How did you get up here, boy? You're parkour. We knew it from the beginning when you were a baby, you were parkour. Alright guys, I had the car washed here. I started up again within 2 minutes. You see that smoke accumulating. So I turned off the car once I saw the smoke, and the smoke is just hanging around over there. You see that smoke? It's been about 10 minutes since I turned off the car, and that smoke is just hanging out there. It hasn't gone anywhere, so it's definitely not moisture. Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Bully Kid here, checking in with the Turbo R18 Civic. Now, we've probably put about 6,000 miles on it. As you guys know, we got an ongoing smoking issue at idle. We're going to be changing the oil today, and we're going to be watching the drain line, checking how well it flows, if there's any clots. Is my drain line from the turbo clogged up and not draining properly? And is it blowing by oil through the turbine seal? Well, I guess we'll find out. Alright, here we are under the vehicle. I took the oil drain line off already, as you can see. Last night after we drove the car, we started the vehicle just like this, and we saw a ton of oil draining efficiently through this drain line. And I'll tell you guys the size of the drain line right over here. It's a big drain line. You don't want to go really much smaller than this, but we did notice there was some crankcase pressure coming out of the top oil drain bung, and you guys can replay that on the video there. So there's some pressure. I would still like to get a clear tubing hose and connect it from the turbo to the drain, and while it's connected, I want to see how well that oil is draining with the crankcase pressure going back up the hose, because that could be causing it to clog up and get out of the turbine seal. Well, today is a warmer day anyway. We got about 45 degrees. Typically it's been much colder the last few months, but I want to see how well it starts draining oil at cold startup. The car's been sitting overnight, so I'm going to crank it up, let it run for about 30 seconds, see if we get any oil, and then we'll do the oil change and go from there. So as you can see, it drains pretty good even at startup. What was that, like a 10-second delay if anything, because of oil pressure? So that's pretty good. Let's drain the oil, change it, and that's it. I'm trying to change the oil around every 3,000 miles just because of excessive heat again now, and the fuel dilution with the tune. You want to change it a lot more frequently. Probably will go back to changing it around every 2.5, 3,000. Again, wintertime's the worst time because of the condensation, the differences in hot and cold temperatures. It takes a toll on the oil here, so hoping this oil change maybe helps something. I'm gonna start the car with the open downpipe, let it run for a little bit, and then just check for oil draining down the downpipe. Alright guys, so I took off the exhaust one more time. As you can see, I got the S pipe right over here, and I'm looking right in there, and you see, I don't know if you guys can see it, but I see the smoke there still. Look at that. See that smoke? And I'm looking by the turbo there, and I'll try to zoom in again, but there's definitely some kind of leak coming out from the hot side over there, whether it's condensation or actually some kind of oil. That is possible. And again, you see that smoke. You see that smoke in there. So that's probably the source. Maybe it's just that turbine seal is shot. If I take my finger right over here, if I took my finger right over there, you got a little bit of oil in there as well. Look, clean glove. Well, you see oil. And that's slick. I mean, that almost looks like that fresh oil I just poured in there. Yeah, so that's definitely oil. Nice and hot oil. And I've been looking at the exhaust downpipe there, and it's all wet. That downpipe is all wet there too. I don't know if you can see it right there. That whole thing is wet. So I think it is leaking down out through the gasket, also into the exhaust. This is that S pipe where the downpipe connects into. As you can see, there's oil residue on there. Actually, you can see it going down right in there. Towards the end, it's nice and dry because eventually the heat burns all this oil out. But yeah, it's definitely leaking. So what can we do? Either we can do an oil restrictor on the feed, See if that eliminates the problem or we get a new turbo. Again, the whole compression test issue was a little bit weird, that I had lower compression in one cylinder. I don't think this is oil coming out from the combustion chamber. I could be wrong. It could still be. It might not be the turbo. It might be byproduct of exhaust. But I'm gonna run cylinder 3 compression check right now again and see how it looks like. Cylinder number 3 test warm. Wide open throttle. .210. Try that again. Cylinder 2. Alright, I totally might have missed cylinder 1 compression test. I'm just telling you, 2 times 240 psi. So now we're going to drop it to cylinder 4, the last one. Check it out. Man, I went from never testing compression ratios, compression testing stuff, and here I am doing my 3rd compression test of the month. All of these tests are with the throttle wide open. This one's a little bit less than 240. And just about 240 as well. So yeah, that cylinder 3 is the lowest one. Not by much, but it is. So I'm thinking either the valves are leaking on 1, 2, and 4. The valve seal guides are leaking into the combustion chamber. That's why we're getting higher compression in those numbers. While this one is 210, and that's what it was pre-turbo as well. Maybe this cylinder is the only good cylinder and the other 3 are bad. I'm not sure, but I mean, these are all linear, 1, 2, and 4. So I'm kind of not certain what's going on. But I did get a leak down tester. We're going to be running the leak down tester in the future when I do get some time. I am changing jobs right now. Very stressful time right now. Just trying to get adjusted to everything in my new role at work. So I don't really have time for all this stuff, but I'm trying to get everything down and working. So in the summertime, I can be boosting again. We can either change the turbo cartridge. If we want to go the most cost-effective route, we can get this replacement turbo, or we can get a turbo that I found online that has a similar turbine where the downpipe is going to fit, but the compressor housing is actually bigger. This is a 0.42 AR compressor housing. The one I'm looking at is a 0.50 AR. It is bigger. I'm not sure if we're going to have clearance issues or not. So that's where we're at right now. I looked under the vehicle. Let me see. Yeah, and like I said, I checked the borescope in the cylinders. Everything looks okay. And I do want to check again under the vehicle here. I did run my finger. I did run my finger in there, guys. And there's definitely oil over there. Once we took this thing apart back in the day, and it was like kind of condensation slash milky substance. But yeah, that's definitely oil coming down there. And as you can see right there, look, that oil is actually leaking. You see it right there? It's leaking out from the gasket. So I have never seen it that bad. I mean, that looks like some fresh oil that we just poured into the car, man. So that turbine seal for sure is shot to some degree. You see that right there. So it's leaking out past there. It's leaking past in here. And that's why we're always burning. We're always burning and smoking. Now, whether the drain line is causing everything to back up and exit out from the seal is also a possibility. I need to get a 3/4 clear tubing drain line just to start the car and see if there's and to see if it's backing up the oil drain, because if it's backing up the oil drain, again, the drain is the problem. And the reason we're having that backup issue is because there's so much blow by in the crankcase and we're not draining efficiently here. So we'll figure it out slowly but surely, but that's probably going to be it for today. I don't know if I'm going to run it open downpipe like this to work, or should I put everything back? I don't really know. But stay tuned, subscribe, let me know if you have any comments, tips, or tricks. See you on the next video. Peace. Alright, so I'm going to run it open downpipe. It looks like the exhaust, even though there's some play, it's not going to hit anything on normal driving. I decided to take out the oxygen sensor now. The oxygen sensor is fairly clean and dry, but I did put down the borescope down here, and some spots do look a little wet, and I'm not sure if that's wet moisture or if that's wet like oil eventually is exiting the cylinders and oil is contaminating the turbine housing, and that's why maybe that turbine housing is spitting out that oil on the opposite end. You know, maybe it's not turbo, again, maybe it's coming out of the cylinders, maybe it's the valve seals or that piston ring seals on cylinder number 3. You know, at this point it's just like so many variables. I could potentially try to get a oil feed restrainer, see if that helps. I'm also planning on doing 2 more vents such as this right over here on the back of the valve cover in the summer. I'm going to drill it, tap it, and put 2 hoses out towards the back of the engine so the crankcase pressure can vent a little bit better. And I mean, there's not much else I can do from my standpoint as far as reducing crankcase pressure unless we route potentially this hose from the vent here into the intake, and that's going to actually take out the vapors from the crankcase and reduce the pressure. But the other side of that, the downside, is I'm going to be introducing crankcase vapors into the turbo, into the charge pipes, and that's going to lower octane rating with the charge temperature. So I don't know if I want to do that exactly. So welcome to a do-it-yourself turbo project. If you're turboing a naturally aspirated car that came from factory, you're going to be looking into problems. Now, the car ran great for about 4,000, 5,000 miles, but now that we're approaching 6,000+ miles, we're having these issues. Granted, it's the winter season, nice weather today, but yeah, man, most of this stuff started happening once winter approached. So it is an eBay turbo. It is a $250 turbo. So some people say you replace turbos frequently too with the eBay brand. But yeah, that's a wrap for today. I'm actually in a rush, time crunch. I gotta get to work soon. So that's gonna be it, guys. I'm gonna wrap it up. Thanks again for watching, all the support, subscribing. Check me out on Instagram at BullyKid. That's where I post a lot of stories, content behind the scenes that you don't see on YouTube. Alright, catch you guys. Peace.
I ain't here for the money, I ain't here for the fame. Though it might be nice to own a jet plane, I'ma do it all for you. Come along and see it's true, but the world is pretty cold. You might need a sweater too. I'ma put her out hustle, I